Your personality was assigned the day you were born. The blueprint was drawn up long before you could speak, based on a single arbitrary fact: your place in line. This idea that birth order secretly steers your entire life feels instinctively true to millions. Yet, an army of scientists with mountains of data claims it's a complete illusion. Both sides have compelling evidence, and both have consequences that reach into the very core of who you think you are. By the end of this, your own family photo might look very different. The classic story is seductively simple. It begins with the firstborn, the guinea pig. The recipient of all their parents' focused, anxious attention, they are the temporary only child, a little king or queen, until the day they are dethroned by a new arrival. To regain their lost status, they become parent pleasers. They are responsible, conscientious, and ambitious. They uphold the rules because they were once the center of the world those rules were built around. It's no surprise that over half of all US presidents have been firstborns. The same goes for a disproportionate number of Nobel laureates and Fortune 500 CEOs. They are the world's natural leaders, driven by a ghost of lost parental monopoly. Then comes the second child, or the middle child, born into a world where attention is already divided. The throne is occupied. They can't win by being a copy of their older sibling, so they must find a different path. They become more agreeable, more diplomatic, the family peacemakers navigating the space between the high-achieving elder and the coddled younger sibling. Or they might rebel, becoming the opposite of what is expected, carving out an identity in opposition. They are more open to experience, less tied to tradition. They are the negotiators and the revolutionaries, because they were born into a negotiation for resources. Their entire life is a search for their own unique space. And finally, the lastborn, the baby of the family. They arrive when their parents are more relaxed, more experienced, and often more indulgent. They never experience dethronement. Their primary strategy for getting attention is charm. They are often more sociable, more fun-loving, and more creative. They learn to use humor and affection to get their way because direct appeals to authority are already taken by the eldest. They are the entertainers, the artists, the risk-takers. They are less concerned with rules and more concerned with connection. The only child, meanwhile, is a different beast entirely, a sort of super firstborn. They are never dethroned, so they mature quickly, surrounded by adults. They tend to be articulate, confident, and comfortable with solitude. This framework feels powerfully true. You can likely map your own siblings or your friends' siblings onto these archetypes with startling accuracy. The responsible older sister who runs the family schedule, the rebellious middle brother who moved across the country, the charming youngest who can talk their way out of anything. It explains so much about the dynamics we see play out at every holiday dinner. It gives a sense of order in the chaos of family life. That seems convincing, but there's a problem. A very big problem. When psychologists decided to test this theory on a massive scale, the entire beautiful story fell apart. For decades, small studies seemed to confirm the stereotypes. But these studies were flawed. They failed to account for huge variables like family size, wealth, religion, and education. A firstborn in a wealthy family of 2 children in the city has a completely different life from a firstborn in a poor rural family of 7. The variable doing the work is money or culture, with birth order being a distraction. So researchers began to conduct massive studies, some with hundreds of thousands of participants from different countries. The results were brutally clear. 2 of the largest studies, one from the University of Leipzig with over 20,000 adults, and another from the University of Mainz, found essentially nothing. When measuring the big 5 personality traits, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, birth order effects were so small they were statistically meaningless. A firstborn is just as likely to be neurotic or outgoing as a lastborn. The only significant repeatable finding was a tiny bump in IQ for firstborns, about 1 point on average. This is possibly because they receive more undivided mental stimulation early on, or even tutor their younger siblings, reinforcing their own knowledge. But for personality, the core of who we are, the effect was a ghost, a statistical rounding error. The data says your birth order has less influence on your personality than the weather on the day you were born. And yet, the other side has its own blind spot. The data feels wrong. It contradicts the lived experience of nearly everyone on the planet. If the effect is an illusion, why is it such a powerful and universal one? Why do we all see it? The answer to that question is far more interesting than the original debate. It reveals that the roles we play inside our family are real, even if they don't define us outside of it. It's here that the story gets complicated. Frank Sulloway, a researcher at Berkeley, argued that we've been looking in the wrong place. He proposed that siblings compete for a limited resource: parental approval and investment. To do this, they adopt different strategies, or niches, to stand out. The firstborn's most effective strategy is to conform. They identify with their parents and with authority. It's a safe bet. But once that niche is taken, it's a poor strategy for the secondborn to do the same thing. They will always be second best at being the good kid. So they are pushed toward other niches. They might become the funny one, the athletic one, the artistic one, or the rebellious one. Their personality is shaped in reaction to the niche already occupied by their older sibling. The lastborn, arriving last, has the most niches to choose from and is under the least pressure to conform. This niche picking explains why the differences feel so stark within the family system. The problem is, these might be roles we play, behaviors we adopt for a specific audience. They are strategies for survival in the unique ecosystem of our childhood home. This is amplified by our own biases. We see what we expect to see. If you believe your older sister is bossy, you'll interpret her helpful suggestion as an order. If you think your younger brother is irresponsible, you'll notice every time he forgets to take out the trash and forget the 10 times he remembered. Parents do this too. They might unconsciously assign roles and treat their children differently based on these birth order stereotypes, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. They praise the firstborn for being responsible, which encourages more responsible behavior. They laugh at the lastborn's antics, encouraging them to become the family clown. The family itself becomes a machine for producing these very archetypes. So, are the personalities real, or are they just costumes we are handed at birth? The most compelling explanation for the disconnect between the data and our experience is context. Your birth order personality may only exist at home. Think about it. At the Thanksgiving table, you might slip back into the role of the rebellious middle child. Your older brother might become more assertive, your younger sister more playful. The dynamics snap back into place like a magnet. But on Monday morning at work, you are just you. Your colleagues have no idea if you're a firstborn or a lastborn, and they can't guess. The traits that defined you in your family home might be completely invisible to the outside world. The big psychological studies measure people as individuals out in the world, but our lived experience of birth order happens inside the intense private bubble of the family. Both can be true at the same time. The data shows birth order has no effect on your fundamental personality. Your experience shows it had a massive effect on the role you learned to play to survive your own family. The core tension is this: what is personality? Is it the stable underlying traits that are consistent across all situations, the thing the Big Five tests measure? Or is it the collection of strategies and behaviors we use to navigate our most important relationships? The science says the former, our hearts say the latter. We feel shaped by our family role because for the first 18 years of life, that role was our life. It dictated how we fought for love, attention, and space. To say that had no effect on who we became feels like denying a fundamental part of our own story. Perhaps the role you play for 2 decades straight does more than just sit on the surface. Maybe the mask, worn long enough, starts to fuse with the skin. Maybe the strategy, deployed every single day, rewires the strategist. The data is clear. Taken from 1,000 different families, a firstborn and a lastborn are personality clones. The difference is 0, but inside one specific family, the difference between the first and the last can feel like the difference between night and day. One reality is built from statistics. The other is built from memory, from conflict, from love, from the lived-in truth of a handful of people sharing a roof. The science measures the ocean. You only ever swam in one small, unique bay. So what do you think? Who are you, really? The person described by the cold data from a study of thousands? Or the person who was forged in the specific, undeniable, and emotional reality of your own family? Which evidence holds more weight? The statistical truth of the crowd or the personal truth of your own life?